So we're just going to start with the breaths. So starting the practice with our 6 breaths out, and then we'll do our breathing of the energetic channels, and then we can get into the practice. So in your own time. And if you want, you can take your hands on your belly and breathing in. Amazing. And then you can take your attention on your tailbone, and breathing in will just take the awareness up the spine. So just as almost just taking the awareness just to see what comes and to listen. And then when we breathe out, hi Zoe, hi Karen. And then when we breathe out, we just breathe all the way down, so down the chest, down and all the way up again. So when you're ready, taking the awareness to the tailbone, and then breathing in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and breathing out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to the tailbone, breathing in, taking the awareness up the spine, over the head, down past the eyes and to the top of the mouth, breathing out, down the chin, the chest, the belly, round under, back to the tailbone, breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, breathing all the way in and breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, breathing all the air out of the lungs, and breathing in, breathing with restricted breath if you want, taking the awareness up the spine, over the head, down the face to the top of the mouth, and breathing out, down the chin, down the chest, the belly, down all the way under, back to the coccyx, breathing in, over the head, and breathing out, down the front of the body, just taking that awareness, and breathing in, up, over the head, and breathing out, all the way down, back to the coccyx. Last breath, breathing in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathing out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just breathing normally. And now we're just gonna take our awareness to our center, so on the level of the belly button in the middle of the body, and we're just gonna take our attention up the inside, the middle of the body, all the way up to the top of the head, or just even slightly out above, and then it circles back down through the center of the body back to that center. So we'll just do 6 breaths. Taking the awareness to the center, breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the top of the head, and breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and breathing in, taking the awareness inside the middle of the body, all the way up through the neck, through the inside of the head to the top, and breathing out, taking the awareness to the inside, coming all the way down to the center. Breathing in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathing in all the air and breathing out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathing in, 5, 6. Breathing in more air and breathing out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Taking the attention back and breathing in, up the center of the body, 3, 4, 5, 6, and breathing out for 1, 2, down the center of the body, 3, 4, 5, 6, and breathing in, 3, 4, 5, 6, and breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and last breath, breathing in, taking in lots of air, and breathing out all the way. Great. Hi Hazel. Hi Holly. Hi Deborah. Great. And when you're ready, we can come to standing. So we're gonna just do a little shake out, and then we're gonna do the mountain pose just to remind us of Fan's song, doing our method of relaxation where all the tensions just flow down. So the way it works is really we imagine our upper body being really light and as if it's held up by water or something else. Volume. It'll sometimes be called volume. And all the tensions just flow down. So this is even when we're doing any kind of form or anything, our upper body is nice and light. So that's kind of our visualization to keep our body nice and relaxed. So from the ground we can push up and we can massage our shoulder. And just feeling consciously how when we have the intention of relaxing the body, already the body becomes more relaxed. And then we can push up even more. Great, and then we can shake out our legs, give our hips a nice shake. Shake out the upper body. Give ourselves a nice shake. And then we can just stretch the soles of our feet. And then taking it down, stretching the calf, and just taking the shoulder forward and just giving ourselves a nice twist. On each side. So on this side, taking the shoulder, tracing the line from the heel to the arm, pushing that shoulder forward, and then the other arm comes. Great job. So we're going to start off with the mountain, and we have a visualization or meditation will end up in this pose, but at any point when you feel like there's any tension building in the shoulder or you just want a little break, you can just come down, maybe do a few circles with the arms just to listen, and then if you feel ready you can come back, but we won't do it for too long, so you can just feel yourself. And we're just gonna, before we start, we'll just check our stance here now that we know about our arches. So we're just gonna relax our hip points here just slightly so that we're sitting down, tucking our tailbone under, and just standing comfortably. And if you feel comfortable, you can close the eyes. And you can visualize yourself as a really big and misty mountain. The peak of the mountain is the top of the head, pointing towards the sky. And the base of the mountain is really wide, rooted to the ground. And you can visualize the atmosphere of the mountain and the sense of quietness or silence. And let that seep into your visualization too. And then we'll begin by visualizing rain falling from above us, dripping down. Maybe you can visualize the sound and visualize the raindrops falling on your body from the sky and then sinking down You can feel the rain on the front side of the mountain, on the front side of the body. Each drop dropping onto the body and then sinking downwards, absorbing into the earth and sinking down. And you can feel the rain on the side of the body. You can feel each drop you can feel the rain on the back of the mountain, the back of the body. Each drop dripping and then sinking towards the ground. And then you can visualize the rain dropping on the other side of the body. Dropping and then sinking towards the ground, sinking down. And if you feel any tensions, you can feel raindrops dripping on the tension, on the place where there's tension, dripping, and then letting it sink towards the ground or taking it with it like any loose rocks or leaves. And the rain is absorbed by the body like wet earth absorbing the rain, and you can feel the earth slowly becoming heavier with the rain and sinking downwards towards the ground. Feeling the earth become heavy and then sinking down so that the body becomes both heavier and lighter. After a while, a lake or a loch starts to form at the front of the mountain, and the water dripping from above is absorbed into the earth and then flows down into the lake. The level of the water rises. And more rain drops from above. And again, the water in the lake rises. Now the level of the water is at the knees, the level of the knees. And more water continuously drips down from the sky, dripping onto all the parts of the body and sinks down, all the way down. And the level of the level of the water rises eventually to the hands. And the hands and arms, like big logs, float on the surface of the water. Held by the water. And as the rain drips down, the water rises and our arms rise. But importantly, they don't rise upwards, but more they just extend further out away from the body, sustained by the water, the level of the water rising in the lake, the loch. And the rain drips onto our body. The level of the loch rises even more. And our arms, like big logs, just extend further away from the body, sustained by the level of the water. And the peak of the mountain points towards the sky, while the earth absorbs more water. And we feel the rain on the body and any tensions just flow down towards the ground. Just feeling completely held, settling in as if we're completely sustained by the water rising. At some point, our arms rotate on themselves, and we come to a position like we're hugging a big ball on our chest. And the rain continues to drip down. And we can feel the water underneath the arms, sustaining our arms. We can feel the water around the arms. We can take the attention to the water in between the arms and the chest. We can take the attention to the water under our legs, in front of the legs, and the water behind the back. And then again taking the attention to the water under the arms, feeling the arms sustained, held, the water between the arms and the chest, the water under the legs in front, the water to each side, and the water behind us. Now we can start to feel the water inside our own body, feeling the water in our hands, our arms, our shoulders, our head, neck, upper body, lower body, our legs and feet. And then just feeling the membrane between the water outside of us and inside of us becoming thinner. And thinner, and then visualizing the membrane disappearing so that the water inside of us and that the water outside of us is no longer separated. And it becomes just one thing. And when you're ready, you can take the arms down and really gently, if you want, you can loosen the arms, loosen the shoulders. So maybe taking a minute just to loosen the arms, roll the shoulders really gently, first small circles, maybe slightly bigger circles, and then the other way, small circles and bigger circles. And if you want, you can take your hands to the chest and just make your elbows really heavy. So imagining the elbows just being really, really heavy. And then we can roll them out. So one way and the other. Great. And then we can take the arms up and just let our hand fall on this muscle here, massaging it out if that feels good. So we're just going to do one progression. So anything else your body needs, take a minute just to take care. And we're just going to do one progression of the walk, and then we're going to start with the sequence of the structure, where we can really focus all of our attention into how the structure moves in space. And that's just the last part of the structure before we move on to the elasticity of the body. So if everyone's ready, we'll just do one progression. So focusing on our center, we can take our finger out in front of us and do our figures of 8. So however slow or fast. So moving from the center, and the finger is just a projection of how the center is moving onto how the finger is moving. So my center moves up in the diagonal, and then my center circles round, comes up the other way, circles round. And now what we can do is we can involve the weight in the legs. So taking it up in the diagonal, comes round, up, round. So as I go with the center to one side, the weight follows. So if I go this way, follows to this side, comes down, and then the weight follows to this side, so that I have one point here. So just doing as slow as you want, slow as feels good. And now you want, you can add the other figure of 8. So the figure of 8 on the ground, taking the center up into the diagonal, taking it round and down, up. And then, so just keeping the hips pretty much level and just going from side to side. So I don't really want to be moving my upper body or my hips up or down, but they're fairly level. And it can be a really slight shift as well, if that feels better. And we'll just take one step. So when you're ready, moving up in the diagonal, shifting the weight, and then as we twist the circle, and then coming back. So we'll do that just with our arch here. So we come up, walking. So the arch is connected to the arch of the spine. So as my center moves, this arch of the arms, if that makes sense, this arch also moves. And then we can just take a step when we're ready, and we move. And then taking the weight forward, and then we can take it backwards if you want, or you can just step back. Nice work, everyone. And then last step, and no worries if it's a lot, just let your body move and take what goes in, and anything else, it's all good. So in this step, what we're going to do is we do the diagonal. We're going to expand the body. So the diagonal goes up, and then the circles go down. So the diagonal goes upwards, and then we circle down, up and down. So as we come down to the circle down, we're really screwing, almost like a screw going into the ground. So we're really going down so that we have our leg nice and rooted and strong. And then as we do our diagonal upwards, it's an expansion. So we can start just standing. And just taking the attention, if it's all too much, don't worry, it just takes some time and some practice for it to go into your head and make sense. Importantly, the theory needs to be clear, so I'll just check in with you guys in a sec. So we can take our arch, and we can, as we come down, we contract, and as we do our diagonal up, we expand. So the whole body expands. And then we can take a step. So we expand, and then we contract. and we expand. Nice work. Good job. So expansion and contraction, we just visualize as if there's not enough to pay attention to, but we just visualize the air going into our belly button, and like a balloon our body just expands, and then contracts. We just visualize the air going out. So if the expansion and contraction is too much just now, no worries. It's just so that the theory is clear, and as we practice, that we know where we're going. So one last time for our steps, and then I'll check in. So taking and then taking our steps when we want. So we expand and the weight shifts, the center comes up in a diagonal, and we contract. So we go down. So the center comes down here, so that we go all the way down, so this leg is nice and strong. So even if in practice it feels very strange, is the theory clear? Is it clear where we're going, what we're doing? Yeah, if there's any questions, feel free to ask them now.
Okay. I think it's clear, but my body, I'm going to have to really feel it.
Yeah.
I've watched it. I'll try to redo it and feel it. I'll just keep going. That's very encouraging. It's just keep going.
Yeah, just a bit of practice, a bit of time, super normal. Because now we would just go in to just a very short sequence, or maybe just the first part of the sequence, where we can really study the structure, how the structure moves in space. And the walking is really something just to practice, even just walking. And the expansion correction, it just takes a bit of time, so no worries at all. So from that, I'll maybe actually do it from the back because it'll be easier. But I'll just give expansion and contraction. So I'll just say we expand, or I'll maybe do the different layers actually. So everything moves from our center. So when we're studying how the structure moves in space, the things really to pay attention to is that everything moves from our center. So we have our three arches, as we know. Our arch of the legs, so our hips are nice and relaxed and our tailbone is tucked under so that it's connected to the arch of the spine, and then our arch of the arms. So when we move the structure in space, the way it's often described, and you might have heard this, is that it's still within the movement. So we don't move, for example, you'll see in a second, when we push, or when we move the hands here, there's not this movement. This is because I'm just moving my arms and it's disconnected. So if we move with our arches, when we move forward, really all we're doing is the hands, or the arms rotate on themselves and the hands come forward. So as we move as well, for example, as we come here and here, but we'll see it in a sec, just to bear in mind that our structure just remains, and that we don't take the arms in a different way, but that our structure remains connected to all the rest. So we'll do it together, and we can just come to standing, and then we just relax the knees and take the foot out. And then the arms facing first the pinkies up, we come into our stance like this. And then we take the center first to the left, then we have our circle, then we take the center to the right, and our leg comes in, and we just take a wider stance, and we expand and contract, and then we expand and take a step, contract down, and then we expand forward. So basically I'll just show you once from the front so that you know what the arms are doing, but they're doing very little. So we start here, then we come into our ball, we expand, contract, expand, contract, and then expand outwards. Then we contract here and expand, contract, and as we expand, our arms rotate on themselves. So no worries about memorizing this one, we can just follow. It's not very long, so that's just the first part. It's really just to feel the expansion and contraction and the structure. So just following and seeing what the body does. So softening the knees, and then we come into our ball, we expand and contract, expand, contract and expand, contract, and then we expand over, contract and expand. Relaxing the knees, we expand and contract, expand, contract, expand, contract, expand, contract, expand, contract, and expand. And again, last time. Expanding and contracting, feeling the body really light, able to expand and contract. Expand, contract, expand, contract, expand, contract, expand, contract, expand, and bringing it in. So for this, we're really just seeing, the important thing is really the body moves in space in a certain way. So we're moving the structure in space, and the structure expands, the structure is alive and it expands and contracts. So just to finish off, we'll do just some listening exercises, just to let our bodies relax after some more mind-boggling things, and just letting yourself feel your body and feel so if you want, you can hit the legs as you come down, just giving yourself a little massage. And then you can switch it, taking it from the knees, and just as if you're throwing water off yourself, so throwing it out, just whatever feels good for your shoulders and arms. Just opening, maybe bringing it up, and just shaking it outwards, so shaking it out. And then we'll just take the elbows and then just folding, so without pushing but also without holding back, we can just fold forward, letting the neck relax. Maybe swinging from side to side if it feels good. And then bending the knees, coming all the way up, one vertebrae at a time. And if you want, just slowly, gently taking it all the way back. Before coming, great. And then we can shake out the arms. And then just letting the shoulders and arms fall. Maybe taking it up. And up again. Shaking out the legs and the hips. And the upper body. And then shaking. Like a dog. Amazing. Having some fun with it, maybe jumping. You can take the legs back, stretching out the feet. And then coming to our twist. So here we just keep the volume, so keeping the arms in front of us and just twisting, so not taking the shoulder. Amazing. Giving yourself a last shake. Nice work, everyone. So when we talk about the structure, it's really about having the body be as one. So there's the metaphor of there's the puppet that has lots of separate parts, that even if you have a really skilled puppeteer, you can move in a really coordinated way. And then there's pizza dough, probably because I was taught in Italy, but you have pizza dough, and basically you want your body to be like pizza dough, so that when one bit moves or twists, the whole structure, the whole thing moves with it. So it's not separate parts, it's one thing. So we're starting to move with our structure as one and moving, staying still in our movement by not exaggerating different parts, moving them separately. So I hope that's clear. And there's just another little section of the sequence of the structure, and then that's that complete. And you'll have all the exercises if you want to practice. So does anyone have any questions, clarifications on anything we did, maybe the walking or the sequence? Yes.
So I can't tell, because I can't see myself, I can't tell if I'm raising my hips when I'm walking. I don't think I'm doing that, but I can't tell because I can't see.
Yeah, that's so. There's. I would suggest for myself, I find it really useful doing it either in front of a mirror or getting someone to film you, because part of what we're doing is also having greater perception of our body and where our body is in space and how it's moving compared to each other. But sometimes it's hard when we're really used to doing it one way and our muscle memory tells us that we're maybe level but we're actually here, that then that feels normal to us. So just before, every now and then, just looking to see if we are correct, and then maybe even if it feels weird, doing it like that for a while, and then we build that new awareness and muscle memory. But don't worry so much if you don't have a mirror, or if you don't really want to film yourself at the moment. You can just pay attention to how it feels, and then after a while you can see. But it's a good question. Karen, did you?
No, well, I was just thinking, in order to try and stop moving my hips, I did put my hands on my hips at one point just to try and see if I could keep them level. Don't know if that would help. No, I was interested because when we do the meditation and we talk about things, we're talking about grounding out our weight. And then when we're walking, we're talking about shifting our weight, with the figure of 8. And I just wondered, is there a difference? I know it sounds a bit daft, but are we trying always to have our weight grounded in the same way? Or, is there something about that? I don't know. I'm just trying to picture that in my head.
Yeah, so we have a certain point where we ground. So I'll just show you. So as we shift the weight, we're not okay. So in our figure of 8, when we have our diagonal, we're kind of expanding and taking the weight away, and as we have the downwards, the circle, we ground. So say when we're shifting here, my weight goes from this kind of rooted leg to this unrooted leg, which doesn't have much weight on it. We shift, and in order then to really ground this one, we have the downwards figure of 8, which roots this one, makes it pretty strong. So we aren't. I don't know if that is more clear. Or...
Yeah, no, I sort of get that. I was just wondering if there's an emphasis. If you and I were to walk, we wouldn't be physically thinking about where we're putting our weight and how we're putting our weight.
Yeah.
And I just wondered if it would make the walk easier, or if that would be wrong technically, to be actually thinking about your weight as a grounded sort of almost like stamped thing, if you follow.
Yeah, so it's really more like a sphere. So we want the weight to have, or kind of to follow the midpoint of the weight like we would a sphere, because if we have it more like a stamp, we're kind of like, we would walk a bit more like this, whereas if it's kind of like a sphere and just the point where there's the most weight flows, and we can have more of a continuous movement. It's obviously harder to have a continuous movement as we're thinking about all these things. So is that...
No, that helps. The idea that it's rolling and continuous as opposed to, an effort to just, actually move it and ground it. That helps.
Yeah, okay, good. But yeah, it's just the walking, the exercise we do is we just pay attention to just one point. But and that's just the same for the figure of 8, only it kind of, instead of just being 2-dimensional on the ground, it just sinks downwards and then comes back up. So everything becomes more 3-dimensional with the expansion and contraction in the figure of 8 going down. I don't know if that makes any sense or it's too complicated.
No, I think these visual things certainly help me, the understanding that, I'm not a puppet, that helps. Yeah, I'm now sort of envisaging that I am a giant gym ball, whether that's...
Yes, that's what we're going for. Deborah.
Yeah, that rolling, the point of weight rolling really helps me think about that. Thank you for your question. When we are moving, are our hands actually turning out and in as we expand and contract?
And no, that's just for the last sequence there.
Okay.
But usually you would just expand and contract with the hands
this
staying
way, then turning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Could I ask something?
Yeah.
So compared to before we were doing the sequence, when we were just working on doing the figure of 8 in different ways on different is that directly the same as what we're doing in the sequence? Because it felt to me like the contractions and expansions weren't exactly timed in that way. Are they kind of separate?
Yeah, so the figure of 8, especially the one on the ground, is just an extension on. So the figure of 8, just doing it as we stand, is probably the simplest, where we're just going, it's the same amount of time and the same, and then we slightly open it up when we walk. So this is just the horizontal one. Then we slightly open it up as we walk, because we take the figure of 8 forward. So even though it's not open, bye Patricia, thank you. Yeah, so as we walk forward, the figure of 8, it's still closed, but it's slightly more, it's opened up, because it's not a closed just figure of 8, but we're walking. Does that make sense? And then with the sequence, what we're doing is we still have that same figure of 8, only this time, for example, we're not always walking forward in the same way, but we're maybe just making the foot come wider. So there's the figure of 8, and then it becomes a wider one, and then maybe we step forward and then we come back. So we're starting to open up the figure of 8. And it doesn't always have the same amount of time. It can be, sometimes we have a really big expansion and a really small contraction and then expansion again, or we have, so we're just starting to, I guess, open it up and kind of vary it. For those who do the form, there's also the figure of 8, but it's also open, and it's a lot more complicated. So it's kind of to simplify it down and then to build it up. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not that your hand, because I think I was focusing a lot on the hand expansion and contraction, and it's not like that every time you're at this point in the figure of 8 that you're doing this exact thing. Is it kind of more that it's important to, like when I was watching you, I feel like I could also memorize just how you were doing that rather than trying to link it to exactly my movements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, at the start it's always hard to kind of think of so many things at once. So I would say just take turns of maybe just copying or doing the expansion on contraction, but it is always, so the diagonal is always linked to the expansion and the circle is always linked to the contraction, but you can do it as fast or slow as you want. And obviously it's so much to think about at the one time, so you can also leave the expansion and contraction out for a little bit, and just do the figures of 8, and then as we get to the into the next phase, we'll do the kind of simpler, just expanding and contracting the body, so that we practice each thing in its most simple form, and then we kind of take it all together, and together it makes the movement. So there's the 5 things that all make, if that, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, but everyone's doing really well. So, there was one, I think, question. So, yeah, we'll just do a quick breathing related to the expansion and contraction. If you imagine a ball and there's a center point, and then that ball expands in all directions, the center stays the same. So even though the ball goes, so that's what we're just gonna take our awareness, so we're gonna focus in on our center, just below the belly button, and then we'll just take that awareness first just into the center, just slightly out, and then we'll take it out further and further from the body. And what we'll do is we'll pair the breath, but as we expand, we're breathing out, and as we contract, we're breathing in. So you can kind of visualize it as we expand, as the air goes out, we're expanding the awareness, and as the air comes in, we're taking the awareness back to the center, contracting the awareness. So you can get into a comfortable position. And maybe relax the shoulders or make any movements. And when you're ready, you can take your awareness to the center. So just below the level of the belly button in the center of the body. And as you breathe in, you can focus the awareness all the way in to the center, taking the awareness all the way in. And then breathing out. The awareness grows like a ball, expanding in all directions. Breathing in, coming back to the center. Breathing out for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathing in, taking the awareness back into the center. All the way in and then breathing out for 1, 2, 3, having the awareness expand. 4, 5, 6, the awareness comes back like a ball in towards the center. And as you breathe out, letting the awareness include the whole body. Breathing in, taking the awareness back to the center. Breathing out, letting the awareness expand to bigger out with the body. Breathing in, bringing the awareness back to the center. And breathing out, letting the awareness grow and start to fill the room. Breathing in, all the way, and then breathing out, letting the awareness grow, making contact with the corners of the room. Breathing in, taking the awareness back all the way to the center, and then breathing out, expanding, taking up the whole room. Breathing in, and out. Taking the awareness back to the center. Last 2, breathing in, filling the lungs completely, taking up all the space. Breathing out, taking it slowly back to the center. Last breath, breathing in, And breathing out all the way back. Breathing out all the air in the lungs. And when you're ready, you can open the eyes and come back to the space. Nice work, everyone. So, yeah, there's a lot of layers, but with some practice, it'll seep in. And yeah, I hope it's becoming more clear, and we'll just keep going. So thanks so much for joining. I'm here if anyone has any more questions, and have a lovely evening, everyone.
Thanks, Nellie.
Thank you.
Evening. Bye then.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Nellie. Bye.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you, Nellie.
Thanks, Sarah. See you. Hello. Hello, crew. How's it going?
Good. I'm never sure whether or not I should be staying at the end.
Yeah, we didn't really say, but yeah, I mean, I'm free if you guys are free.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the form. Can I ask you?
Yeah, of course.
Everyone's time. Okay, so I want to make sure that I have the sequence